Oh, I think I'm live. Oh, Tinfoil Hatter, I don't know if you're still in there. I was sitting here preparing before I hit the live stream button here. Um, and then I know I look up and then I see that you're there in the chat. Well, happy full moon. Boy, oh boy, there's some energy coming around right now. I tell you what. I was very happy, pleased, thrilled, humbled by being on Milky Way Weekly's show last night. And this being 1:05 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time on the East Coast of the United States of America. I'm in your intrepid host, Mr. David Null. My shamanic name is Hawkeye Two Feathers. And so we had a wonderful discussion. In fact, I turned on the video. I'm sorry. I went to the YouTube page to forward it to my Facebook page. I still have trouble doing this hunt and paste and do things. I'm having to relearn what's going on. Ooh, I got to plug in. Hang on just a second. I forgot. Hang on there. Sorry about that. Boy, and let this get away right away. We've had thunderstorms in the area, and I unplugged earlier, so in case there was a close. Hey, Tinfoil, how are you, man? And so while doing the interview with Mr. Brian earlier this evening, I've been getting, my information of some folks call them downloads. Not too bad at the moment. Wonderful, wonderful. I send blessings, greetings, and etc. Much love from the heart. We are making a difference. I do believe. Well, we were having a discussion earlier, and tonight was the second night I've been on with Brian, and I really do appreciate him having me on. I do. Because I'm going to do, how many Brians are there? A lot. 10 Milky Way Weekly. When I get messages that I'm supposed to communicate, and being 65 now and 66 in September, I've had lots of visions, messages, and a lot of stuff over the years. I'm not going to go into any of that, except that it's been going on. I've done other videos. I will do other videos, but I'm not going to go into any of that right now. I want to get to this particular point. And I'm really new at this still, because I have this information and I now understand what my job is in all of this stuff that's going on. The new wave energy, the new waves of energy, the different types of reality and so forth. And I've got, it's a fairly simple message, and it's about we as human beings. It's about us as spirits, as pure energy, light forces. And that is what matters. And all the other things that we've been taught by our society is what we need to drop off. And so my journey as a shaman, and I realize, yeah, I am a shaman. I do qualify. But I don't say that arrogantly. It's a hard name for me to accept. But with my journey and all of the things that I have been through, that I have studied, has led up to this point. And so it was important for me to learn these things. But I had no idea what the end result was going to be. Why am I learning this? Well, I want to go to heaven when I die. That's sort of a little selfish. But I was learning some of this stuff when I kind of felt like, well, if I just, sit home and do good, blah, blah, don't harm anybody, then I'm going to go to heaven and to hell with everybody else. Sort of. That's not how I really felt, but in a way it was. I was like, okay, let's focus. You have to focus on yourself. before you can reach out to others to help in any way. So it depends on how deep you have to go dig inside yourself as to where that place is. Now, so my life and my story is some of how I've gotten here over my other videos, and I'm going to do some more videos. But I'm told I got to try to make this as short as humanly possible for myself and for other people, because it's this particular message right now that is real important. And how I got here and all this other stuff, that's in another video. But this is about our personal energy, all right? And I'm going to have to use the word power versus energy. And I don't mean power in the sense that, you get a stick and conjure something up, I'm speaking on a totally different level. And I'm speaking about earth energy. I'm speaking about Mother Earth energy, cosmic energy, all of these things. And in most religions, I can't vouch for all, but most religions speak about going to the higher plane, going to heaven, ascending, however you want to get there, or whatever, however you want to describe it. So that the idea of religion is how to get there. So the problem is that they have created a lot of mechanics as human beings and as society, and it really muddled the picture. They created religion to confuse us. They created religion thinking we had to follow certain things in order to get there, when basically, if we understood who we are as spiritual beings, as energy, light, and etc., that if we understand this and can remember the trick, we can snap our fingers and be someplace else. Not dead, or be someplace else. And that's supposed to be magic. Actually, it's quantum mechanics. And so we know this as a soul, as a spirit, before we become a human being on this planet. But as we become human, we forget our spiritual. I don't mean to make light of that. But at the same time, I don't want to be so serious as like, oh my God. But this is serious. It's serious in the fact that as I'm trying to communicate to other people, other human beings like myself, that it's really, really simple how to get there. And it's in our thought. It's in our own innate energy that we already are. We don't have to become anything. We already are. We are is-bees in the universe. The is part is because we wish as an entity to be. We are is-bees. And there are more than you can count in any universe of how many is-bees are in our universe. Other dimensions, other solar systems, however you want to go there. Now, so understanding that we are is-bees, that we are spirit beings. I mean, in the Catholic Church, we all have a soul. And if we do good, our soul will go to heaven. Same thing, just different language. And I just want to take any religion out of this. This is simply, and this is the important part. What I'm speaking of is in no relation to any kind of a cult or following or anything like that. That's my disclaimer right out of here. Because what I'm here to say is that that's the problem you can't hear, is because at some point you still might believe in any type of religion or dogma or whatever. Now, I use the Bible now as just like, there's some good passages in there. Maybe not tear out, but just don't read anything that Paul has to say. He's a heretic, by the way. The four apostles, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Yep. I think Peter's okay, but Paul, don't read him. All right. There's a lot of lies in there. Okay. But the rest of the Bible is just like a story, and some of it may be true. Some of it might have historical value. But the thing that we as human beings need to understand is the message of Jesus, not anybody else. The message of Jesus. That part of the Bible, okey doke. Everything else, you need to just drop it. Now, number two, if you're a Christian or any other religion, actually, if you're reading something in your version of the Bible that asks you to worship God, you have the wrong one. Because it's supposed to be, they've switched the word, I've done my homework, from adore to worship. All right? In the Bible, I can't vouch for Quran or anything like this, but when the angels come, every one of the prophets or whoever bow down, and the angel always says, get up, you are like me. Now, that is spread all out through the Bible, but especially in Revelations with John. Now, why is this important? Because in this spiritual book, even though it contains some stuff that just doesn't matter, the point is, when the angel speaks to John, he says, you are as I am. That's a clue right there. That's a very important clue, and people just right over the top of their head. Now, I'm going to step out of religion, okay? But keep that point. We are as they are, spiritually, energy, soul, whichever you want to go with it. But I'm going to narrow it down, okay? I'm going to keep the soul out of this because that's a separate discussion. But I'm told that this is very important, and I need to stay on topic with this subject. Now, let me give just a little bit about Earth Magic. Now, on Milky Way Weekly's program, I discussed Earth changes and things. And as I got done, I actually watched what we did to critique myself, because I'm a director and an actor and puppeteer and story. Anyway, so I wanted to see how I did to critique myself. How can I improve this right here? What did I miss? Did I overemphasize and whatever? Well, I went on some tangents. Excuse me. I'm going to try to stay on point with this and not go off on tangents. All right. So with that said, though, there is a story that I need to tell now that will follow into this next part. Now, I kind of got it out of sync when I was doing this with on Milky Way Weekly. So, but I've suffered for many years with depression and so forth. And I have been discussing this with many people on this channel. And I'm come to the conclusion that any person that gets a really good smack to the head, regardless of what size or side or whatever, that your brain has been altered. And because the brain has been altered, the brain has learned to do something that people who don't get whacked in the head don't get. And this is really obscure, but hear me out, please. And that is the fact that we have had to learn how to reroute portions of our damaged brain when it hit the inside of our skull. And so we have had to, the body's figured it out. And depending on where the hit is and so forth, it will heal itself over time. Because I was a drooling slob in a wheelchair, and now I can speak pretty much. And yes, I do wander. That's why this is still practicing. I'm still learning. I'm still reteaching my brain things that I have forgotten or whatever. Now, why is that important? I think that there are a lot of people who are have had serious accidents, near-death experiences, like Brian, like myself, other people. And did we hit our head during that? Our brain had to rewire itself. And so when during the rewiring process, there was something else that went on. It's allowing us to see through the veil. Okay. Because we are energy beings, and pick a religion, and even if you're an atheist, if you're a father or a mother and you've had children and you feel the love of your child, if you think that love doesn't exist, or that spiritual energy is fake, or that you feel something spiritual with your child, there's no way to deny that. I mean, it's called love, and that energy is important. And when you show the love, you also show other things. Now, this is premised to this information about energy. How can we deal with this? And I have to tell this little story first, because it helps to explain what fragments are and bringing in together is. Now, I looked for the book. I couldn't find it. And it was more important for me to do this on a full moon with the energy flowing through, so that I could try to get this message out as clear as possible without a bunch of hoopla. Here we go. Now, the story is that there was it was a sci-fi fantasy book, and it was about two kids who knew each other. Both had special gifts, but as they got older, she went to a convent of witches and he went to a boarding school for warlocks or something to learn earth magic. Okay. That was about the story. It was about earth magic. But anyway, when he started learning it, his actual energy itself was so powerful that when he broke through and allowed it, his brain couldn't handle it, and his brain fragmented. And what happened was, he became the person that he was. He knew about trapping. He knew how to skin an animal, because it was that kind of a, in the olden days, blah, 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 hunting, bow, anything. Anyway, but he was also a politician. He was also a barmaid. He was also all these other things, in that these were part of his personality. All right. And each of us have different ranges of our personality, which is a good thing. That which makes us individuals. But this fragmented his mind such that only the barmaid was the barmaid. And he would literally become that person as a split personality. Now, my analogy in this particular part of this story that's important is that his brain fragmented into different characters. All right. Keeping this in mind, in this, what I'm discussing, you're standing in the middle of a room, and there is a mist, just not spooky. It's not spooky. It's just this mist kind of hanging anyway. And there are doors from your peripheral vision on one side all the way around and on this side. And I've noticed, as a matter of fact, of going back over this and the time in between the interview with Bryant and now, is that I remember also that it seemed like the room was a lot closer. There weren't as many doors. Now, this happened with this most recent head trauma that I had and so forth related to that. In my personal, it was almost like I went from 50 doors to 10. I mean, it was like I had all these doors, and then all of a sudden, boom. And there, it's really in a confined space. I think the mist was just in there for effect. However, it showed up in this spirit writing that I did. And this happened on 12/20/17. And I have a notebook. I have several of these notebooks laying around, and the date and everything's up here. And it was at 2:20 a.m. And going back to the story real quick, this young boy, because he was such a powerful magician, he could concentrate on one fragment of his personality and become the trapper, or become the politician, or become whatever he needed to become of his personalities. However, one personality would try to take over the others. And so in his own mind, as a spiritual, I hate, no, as a spiritual sorcerer of sorts, in his own being, in his own energy that he possessed and was learning as to be a sorcerer or shaman. Let's call him a shaman. That sounds better. Because he really wasn't casting spells. He was using energy, Earth's energy. So, but with that said, he realized in order to bring all the fragments together, he had to have a chief. And because it was in a tribe of folks, not like Native Americans, think more in the Middle East with camels and that kind of thing. Anyway, Arabian Nights kind of deal. So his reference was that his fragmentation of personality had become a tribe of individuals. And he realized, his core self realized, in order for him to stay a person and not just be absolutely mad, crazy all the time, that he needed a chief. And with that, he said to all of his other personalities, you can come out when it's time, but everything must go through the chief. None of you can dominate the entity, but we all are a tribe of one. This personality, we are a tribe of one. Now, I want to expand upon that. This tribe of one also has to do with, in my personal experience with all of the doors, is my personality and who I was got fragmented because of the head trauma and all these incidents. And these fragments were put behind doors. Now, I had to find someone. There was my core energy standing in the room looking at these doors. Now, why is it relative to you or someone else? Because we all face these same type things. This is my analogy. This is my story. And it's really going to tie in with this in just a second. So in this, each of us has a personality, and one might be that, you know, you have a few drinks and you can sing or dance or whatever the deal is. We all have different parts of our being as a personality, and we have to go to work every day and we are that person. But when we come home, we take our shoes off, we become another person. We do. These are personality parts. So we all possess this. That's just a simplicity part. But so we close the door when we come home and throw our feet up, right? So, but then we open the other one when we get to the house and we become Mr. Rogers or whatever. The point of this is that we are fragmented, and we have been fragmented in many other ways that we as human beings, or America, it's actually the world. More of those of us in I hate to say the word advanced, but advanced societies, where I really don't think of America as advanced. But anyway, of the poorer countries that don't have Wi-Fi and all that kind of stuff, okay, that's what I mean. So they would have less influence with those type folks than they would with those of us who stay plugged in all the time. That's my point. So what we need to do is, for each of us, is to pick the boss, pick the manager, pick the chief, the CEO, whoever you wish, and say, okay, this guy is the manager of all this stuff, but he's the one that says, wake up, it's Monday, go to work. Okay, that's the core us. Okay, so follow me with this. So, and then when you come home, he's the guy that says, time to take your shoes off. You know, so this is just hypothetical, but in my research and personal understanding, everything is stored in our subconscious. And our subconscious, because of television and stories that we read and things like that, in an odd kind of way, we have made our lives part of the story. I'm not saying holographic thing, although we have settled into certain patterns. Now, That has made us fragmented. All right. Also, because we as individuals have been fragmented, also the population through our society, our populations and societies have been fragmented in thinking, racism, I mean, it's going nuts right now. That's because of the energies coming in. All right. Why is this explanation necessary? Because we are all part of the tribe. We are the tribe of the human race, having nothing to do with religion or cults or anything. It has to do with our human spirit. It has to do with us. Just pure and simple, us. I've got Bibles over here. I've got the Bhagavad Gita upstairs. I've got I Ching. I've got runes. But what I have learned from all of that, when you compare it all together, is the fact that that's really good information that helped me reach where I'm at. But then when I reached where I'm at, I realized that they were really good to get me here, but I don't need them. They're just support. It's like following a script per se, because I'm an artist and an actor and director. Now, so keeping the fact that we as human beings have been fractured all the way around the world, and they continue to find ways to fracture us more. Now, those of us who have been waking up, feeling these new energies, and who are you're on my channel because you want to learn something different. It's a different point of view, but it's a simple one. But there's got to be a story in here to help you understand what I mean about this. And I'm not trying to get you to believe anything, by the way. This is a different point of view I want you to consider. Now, so as a tribe of one for this one individual, if we simply use source, not God, but source, and every religion or whatever, and even atheists will believe there's some kind of a spiritual something. Now, they don't want to call it God or a church. I don't blame them. I really don't. I actually agree with atheists now. Because the God of religions is a different God than just spirit. Now, it's energy. Let's boil this down. Let's take personality out of this equation. Because in our society, you and I have been taught that as an energetic being, as a human, we have to understand some kind of God thing, when we already are that, as stated so many times in so many different texts, especially in the Bible for Christians. I'm not making this up, okay? So if you wish to follow your text, then go to the simplest things. Keep it simple, stupid. KISS. What's the simple form? Angel appears. He says, John, stand up. You are like me. Everything else doesn't matter. You're like the angel. We are like the angels. And why do I need the rest of the book? If that part is true, and that's what is being shown, and in the words of Jesus himself, forgetting the rest of the Bible, it's all about how to shed your worldly self and allow your energy to increase to the light. Because we are as the angels. What more of the text do you require? I'm just asking. Do you need to go into Paul and read something? Do you need to go back into Ephesians? I'm just saying. We got to break this down into simple, this is fact, and this is fact, and the rest is just not necessary. It's not that it's not necessary. That's all. Now, so the tribe of one, in the story, in my allegory of how I had to do this, I simply picked my core energy and my soul. Okay. I just said, okay, I don't know how to fry eggs anymore. I can't change a tire when I was a mechanic and an engineer. I barely know how to walk, but I'm putting you in charge, meaning my spirit. And so little by little, when I put that core energy of myself, and I just standing in the room with the doors around. Okay. So as soon as I took possession of that fact, where I was literally floating in the mist, and many of us right now are floating in a mist, and some of it we can't see, it's still there. Just because it's invisible, it's being masked by those of us around us and by our devices and things. So we think we have it under control, but then our devices will flash and do absolutely strange magical things to our brainwaves. And so when we think we are in control, our devices are attached to a subliminal, subconscious thing. And depending on who you are or where you go or whatever you do, you're linked. That's why I closed the thing on the computer at night, and I'm turning away from LED lights back to the incandescent and changing the lights, and it's really helped me, believe it or not. And Neptune influence is strong in my chart, plus the full moon now and other aspects. Astrology is a deep-ass rabbit hole. Yes, it is. But not only that, it's even more important because, and thank you, Tinfoil, for that. But that increases what I'm trying to get at with this subject. Because each one of us is born with these innate powers because we were spirits. Okay, some folks are going to call it our soul. Okay, but it's still our core self. And that core self, we need to put back in charge because it has been ripped away from us. Our core self has been fragmented, both in our minds, in our society, and on the planet, which affects the universe. This is heavy. And because these energies are coming in, it's affecting each one of us in a different way. Now, as I go through this, it will make more sense why I had to tell this little story and everything. But you and I and we, as human beings, as Isbies, as spirits, we should really be like getting along and this fighting and killing and being nasty to one another. That's a learned behavior by most of us, or forced upon us. And then many of us kill ourselves for what we've done. But our core soul value is that energy, that is the light, that's us. This energy is very powerful and very strong. But because we have been fragmented in so many ways, many of us, trying to keep it a positive word. So many of us have forgotten the instructions, basically. We had the instructions as children, but we're going, and we forgot them as we got older. And because adults forgot, they never learned how to teach us how to remember. Now, with these new paradigms going on, however you indigo kids, whatever, the awakening, whatever's going on, we are all being able to see this now. And if we understand that each one of us is part of this puzzle as a collective, nada to the cult, nada to religion, nada to any kind of whoa, stay away from there. If we go simply back to our core selves, to our energy. Now, I'm going to go back. I'm going to go to this text, keeping all of that in mind. Now, me, myself, and I'm still working on the tribe of one for myself. However, because I'm able to speak to you at all, because I was drooling, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I couldn't follow a train of thought if I was hanging on to the caboose. So, and I'm getting a download right now, right in the middle of this. So I'm trying to maintain my focus and still get a download. We as an earth need to think of, thank you, that they were helping me to remember where I was. We as the earth, as a billions of beings on this planet, we are one in the fact that we are all these spiritual beings. That makes us so together and so brothers and sisters. It's beyond anything that we as a human being can explain, because most of us have forgotten what being a spirit is like and what, quote, power our spirit has. So the yogis of old could live without food or water for great lengths of time. They still practice that. I have practiced it and understand that's how I made it through my 3 days, almost 4 on the river. So I get it. It works. You know, we are so powerful. Our beings are so powerful. Now, I'm calling this earth magic, and I spell it M-A-J-I-K, magic. My reference to anything of a wand or anything, please forget that. This has nothing to do with that. This has to do with our innate energies. Now, this is what I wrote during a automatic writing session. I'm sometimes awakened in the middle of the night. I have several of these little notebooks around, pen, and I will sit down and write this. So as I read this back, I went back through it and sort of corrected a couple places, but I did still scribble this in the middle of the night. In fact, it was on 12/27 of 17 at 2:20 a.m. Now, in my dream state at that particular time, I was asking for clarification on about energies and earth energies. I was just asking for clarification in general, because I was getting downloads of stuff and it was a little confusing. So this was my answer subconsciously to myself, my higher being, angels. When I read this back, I think to myself, I know this is my handwriting and I know I wrote this, but it didn't come from my consciousness. Subconscious, very possibly. Here we go. I'm speaking of energy as being like the soul. So I'm not going to use the word soul. The word is energy, because that's what we are. We are light, frequency. You means me, but also everyone. You may have the energy, meaning the soul, but that isn't the true power. With the power, you can create, but you cannot create without focus. If you have focus and the power, you must also have a point, as in a focal point. With all of these things at once, you must still have intent. These are instructions. Your intent must match the energy of the creation. Harmony of the frequency is the balance of the life force. Pureness of harmony accelerates the process of the focal point. Thus, the intent is brought to focus. And that creation can be a single thought. Your powers are much stronger than you realize. Allow this new energy. It is important to allow this new energy to flow into and through you. Because if you try to hold any of this energy, it is useless, and also it will actually slow you down. The excitement of these new feelings and energies will bring you a new joy. And so ride as a surfer would ride a big ocean wave, taking in all the beauty of the wave and all of the things around it. Up, down, in, out, smell the salt, feel the water, but stay on your board. No fancy tricks, because there are sharks in the wave. Now, what is the interpretation of this? I'm going to go back up and try not to be boring. You may have the energy, meaning our souls, okay? But that isn't the power. So we can realize, okay, I'm a spirit being, but okay, now what am I going to do with it? Okay, I realize it, but what good is it? None, because I don't understand it. That's the power, is understanding who you are and the energy that you already possess. That's the power, is the knowledge. Oh, I got to write that down. Knowledge. But, how many times have, knowledge, it is power. If you understand how to do things, that makes you powerful in the respect that you can take care of yourself or somebody else, whatever. You can become like me as an engineer. I love creating things. So the power is the knowledge. So when we remember as what is happening now, we are remembering through the knowledge who we were, are, and that is the power they wish to continue to keep from us. Now, I'm going back to my handwriting. With the power, you can create. Now, create means whatever. And I mean, if you literally wanted to create another world and you understood all what it takes to do that, and there are ISBs who do that, then you could, okay? So nothing is out of reach if you understand who you truly are, spirit. Notice I haven't used the word God. Source only. I don't think I have used the word God. This is important because this isn't about a God. It's about us. It's about our souls. It's about saving ourselves from the blue meanies. All right, I'm going to read these sentences again now that I kind of explained a little more in detail. You may have the energy, but that isn't the power. With the power, you can create, but you cannot create without a focus. Okay. Now, why would that? It seems like we're going off topic here with how this is written. What Spirit is saying to me and to everyone is that, okay, first we start off with the energy. That's us. We don't really need any more explanation than that. And the fact that that isn't the power is the clarification that you might have the energy, but, oh, hello, Miss Phoebe. How are you? So greetings and blessings. And I gotta want to stay on this so I don't lose track in case somebody else watches this. Blessing, and love to you. So you cannot create without a focus. Well, of course. Now, as an artist or a painter or something like that, now sometimes I have sat down with a pencil and just started scribbling, and a story will pop out or something like that. As a puppeteer and storyteller, I will just ask creator and just kind of like just put it out there to the ether, alrighty. Anything out there that I could write down? You must be an idiot, and a story will come out of it or something. Okay, so that is trying to use your focus. And once you get the idea, then you begin to use your core energy and the power, because now you may have knowledge of that subject. So now you still retained your core energy. Now you're starting to use the knowledge, which is the power, to focus on an idea. Okay. But you cannot create without focus. If you have focus and the power, meaning the knowledge, you must also have a point, as in a focal point. So you may say, I want to create, and you've got all these things, and you may say, I want to create a new sport. Well, that's kind of a broad subject. What does sport mean in anywhere? Okay, so that's a broad topic. But if you say, I want to create a new type of sport for the handicapped, for those who, so as you discuss or whatever, you start to narrow the focus. Okay, this is where this is going. I know it's just in short verse like a poem, but if you have focus and the power, the knowledge, you must also have a point, as in a focal point. And the more finer that focal point, the more energy you can direct in that area, versus I'm going to create a new game for the universe versus I'm going to create a game for handicapped people. You understand that where I'm headed. All right. With all of these things at one time, you must still have intent. So you got your energy. Now you got your knowledge, power. Now you've got your idea, which is going to be your focus point. But what the hell's your intent? Well, I want to create it, but is it money, or is it I want to help the disabled, or I just want to create it for fun? Which is not a bad, that could be a very good thing in itself. Although, just saying, well, I just want to. Well, I've done that before, and some fairly good results have come out of that. However, having a focal point is going to get better results. We all know that at any point, the harder you work at a job, the better you learn how to do it, the more money you could make. I mean, it worked. That's how it works. Now, you still must have intent. Your intent, this is where it gets heavy. Your intent must match the energy of the creation, meaning what you wish. Harmony of frequency is the balance of the life force, and the pureness of that harmony accelerates the process of the focal point. Where does that go? In other words, if your intent is good and your frequency matches that which you wish to create, whether it be a story or artist in a drawing or music, whatever it, cooking, I'm going to bake a cake, whatever it is, okay? Creation. So it's not like a lower G God, I'm standing over, I'm going to make a new planet. That could be your intent, okay, but I'm speaking in terms of this involves everything that we do. I'm going to the kitchen and make coffee. I'm going to create it. I'm focal point, the coffee. You get my idea. You get the point. So the more I'm in focus with making coffee, the fewer steps. I don't drop coffee on the floor, spill water. I mean, so there, if I'm sloppy and half asleep and I'm making coffee, I make a mess. But now if my focus is more intent and I'm more awake, then I don't, it's real. maybe a drop or two of water on the counter. That's it. That's an oversimplified version, but this is what I'm talking about. It goes all the way down to the point of making coffee. That's how this goes, because we have to focus our intent. We have to focus our energy. This is just coffee is an example. Now, the harmony of frequency is like what really just like. I'm going to go back up to this. Harmony of the balance. Harmony of the frequency is the balance of the life force in pureness of harmony that accelerates the process of the focal point. So the more your energy vibrates in a good way or negative, if that's where you're headed, but we're speaking on the good side here. So the more I wish that the painting that I do, if I sell it, I'm going to donate to charity, or I'm doing this for someone I love, intent. Or I'm baking this cake for the family, whatever. Thus, the intent is brought to focus along with the power of the creation. And the creation and the harmony can be one single thought. Your powers, knowledge, are much stronger than you realize. Allow this new energy, because it is important to allow this energy to flow into and through you. Okay, I'm going to stop on that point. Oh, wait. And to try to hold any of this energy in is useless and will actually slow you down. Okay, so I'm just going to give a little bit of overpoint of that. So a single thought with intent can create. Now, the reason I say that is because working in theater all the years that I have, I've had the idea of like, wow, wouldn't that play be a good one to put together? Wow, wouldn't this be funny? Or wow, wouldn't this be whatever? And so I got the idea to rewrite Dickens' Scrooge, and we put it on stage 2 years in a row in Thomasville, Georgia, to a lot of applause. And, it was held over instead of 2 weeks for 3. It was a success. I didn't get anything out of it other than the fact that I created it. And I allowed all these wonderful actors and actresses to help me put this on for the public. That was my intent. And it worked. And it went over well, and etc. But money-wise or whatever-wise, fortune, fame, blah, 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 that was never my intent. Thus, I didn't get any of that. But that's not the point. It's not. My point to this, though, is that I know from a single thought and idea, if I allow my energy and my knowledge of theater, etc., which was my power as a director, to help create this thing. And the more that we focused our group intentions, we were able to put 25 people in a play that had 30 scene changes in less than an hour and 40 minutes. Just stop and think about that for a second. We were changing the sets like, but to the point though, we all work together as a tribe of one. We were fragmented people until we all came together and realized what the other wished. And our combined intent was to do a theater production, to work together, to pull our fragments together to become a tribe of one, a theater troupe. It happens all the time. Folks get together, they learn their lines, they do the da-da-da-da-da. That's what I'm talking about, except we need to expand this to life. Now, I created these things with my thought. I wish to do this play. I wish to invite these people to come and play with me and produce this thing, which we did. So that right there is proof to me it's not really magic, but it is all of these things. It's my core energy of me being a storyteller, blah, blah, blah. Okay, there we go. The second part is the knowledge that I've attained so that I can create. I couldn't create anything if I didn't have any focus. So I picked Charles Dickens and Scrooge. And with that focus, I placed my intent into it, which was to invite all these wonderful people to come in and let us work as a tribe of one to create this thing for joy and for people and for Christmas time, etc. And so through that single thought, I was able to achieve all of these things. Now, I'm not raising a flag and I'm God and all that. I'm using my own life. You can go on my Facebook page and see pictures of the thing. My point is, we are all creators. I'm using this play, this example of how this works. It's working all the time. It's always there. But we have been taught by society to not recognize this next level up of energy and our source, our light, our own energy. Now, just take the story of the play and think about the fragmenting of us, the tribe of one, planet Earth. We are a tribe of one. I seriously doubt any of us want to see the planet explode. I seriously doubt that. You can ask the lowest person to go, "Hi, would you like to see the planet blow up?" I'd be like, "No." Okay, you know. Now there's a few loonies out there who would probably go, "Yeah, man, go ahead, blow the damn thing up. I dare you." We ain't going there. But I'm talking about most rational people, are going to go, "No, please don't." So that is our knowledge, because the dark side is using things against us. And what they're using against us is the fact that they're withholding some of that knowledge. And they're disguising that knowledge. I hate watching my eyes glitter back and forth with the light. They're disguising what is so really simple. If we break it down in a simple, now, I know this came out of me. I know that I wrote this, but this was an angel message, plain and simple. I mean, I wrote this thing and didn't pick it up until after the first of the year, of this year. And then I lost it. It's in between several pages. I've been writing other things down, doing other things. It kind of got lost in this particular notebook. And then when I opened it the other day and Brian and I were discussing energies and things, I was like, And then this popped up and I was like, well, I guess now is the time for this to come out. So as a tribe of one of planet Earth, we need to continue being together. Why is this important? Because those of us who are waking up, we have the energy. A lot of us are regaining our knowledge, which is our power. We're getting our focus back because we're all focusing on the fact that we wish to do better and we wish to change this negativism that is on our planet right now, and being amplified by the fact that the lava's flowing faster and earthquakes and all the changes, all the energies we're getting from out in the solar system. All the planets are being affected, and we're beginning to understand that. But there are so many people who refuse to pay attention to things like the huge dust storm that just gobbled up the planet Mars, recently, like to now. So these things are happening. They're going to happen, and we all need to work together on this. Understand who we are, our energy. Our power is our knowledge, and the more we share our knowledge, this also increases our potential. So this is exponential, you see. This is one person, two, then there's four, and then there's eight. This is what we're talking about. So in the last 6 months, I never dreamed that I'd have more than 10 people sub my channel. And I was told by my spirit guide that I had to have faith. This information is important to people. Now, I'm trying not to be boring. So the next part of this angel message is allowing this to come through. And I wish to explain this about the surfboard thing. It says to ride these new waves coming in. Now, I rewatched the video that I did, and I realized that this is important, because what is a wave? There's an up and a down. And sometimes it's a sharp wave, sometimes it's really long. Okay, they're all waves. Ocean waves, okay, I'm going to use the ocean as my example. Now, so if we're getting these cosmic rays, thinking of in terms of little teeny tiny little ocean waves in the Gulf of Mexico versus Waikiki and out there in the Pacific, where you get them great big ones, you know. So each wave is created. Each wave is created differently. That is a true statement, Dave. But also each wave is ridden differently because of its size and blah, blah. You know, that where the beach is and where the drop off is, how deep the water is, a bunch of mechanics. Okay. That's the knowledge, the power. If you skip those types of things to become a good surfer, then the knowledge will be incomplete for you to be able to ride a wave in Waikiki. You're going to have to understand what the beach is like, blah, blah, blah. Okay, because that's important. You know what? Thank you, Tinfoil. You brought up something that I also want to bring up too. Let me finish. I won't forget it because I see it right there. Let me finish this point. So each one of these waves come on, even at Waikiki or wherever, there's no two waves alike. They may be similar, but no two waves are alike. So just like everything else in life. So we're getting these cosmic waves, and comic waves too, I might add, but that are coming in from all different directions, not just the center of our galaxy, but from other places as well. And it seems the word, I have discussed this in another video, and where there's Sirius A and Sirius B in the constellation in the sky. And the fact that they were watching Sirius B, there was a giant flash in Sirius B, and 30 seconds later, it had already expanded past the entire solar system of that star. And as they were observing it, they noticed that all the planets got fried. Now, if they were observing it and it's X amount of light years away, and it's expanding out in all directions, those waves from that Sirius planet, our star system, Sirius B, if they're just now getting the light of that thing, which takes X amount of time to travel, if the light beams are hitting us, what's accompanying the light waves? Well, the photons and the protons and all the other galactic waves. And anything that was in front of it, just, you know, they say there's nothing in space, but that's a lie. But as this energy wave is pushing through the universe, it's picking up any scraps, just like a wave in the ocean would pick up something and carry it along. It's the same kind of thought pattern because it's a wave. Now, some of us have been feel like we've just been beat up. I mean, seriously, I've had bruises. And so some of us are taking this energy really hard. And with these energies, Tinfoil, I'm coming back to you right now with this. We have to look in all directions as to what's going on. We have to be aware of our situations. I'm wiping my nose because it's hot in here and I'm sweating. Anyway, I know I don't have air conditioning, don't want it, but anyway. So while we're in this, quote, troubled times of waves and energies, we need to stay on our surfboard because there's sharks in the water. Now, the sharks in the water are the negative energies. They are distractions that will take us off our course. Now, I don't know if any of you have watched the program, and I think it was on TNT originally, but I'm watching it on Hulu for the first time, and it's a series called The Librarians. And if you haven't watched it, I strongly suggest, if you wish to understand more about our relationship to time and space and things, plus it's a good show. It's about how they collect magical items. There's several other programs that I failed to remember it. Warehouse 13, I think, was one where they did a similar type thing. However, these folks actually use some of the magic that they find. Anyway, this episode, I've been catching up. I've never seen this before. So in my learning, I'm like, okay, Spirit sent me to this episode, and it was called The Librarians and the Loom of Fate, as in a weaver's loom, okay? Loom. Now, what happened in this is very simple, is that over eternity, there is this loom, and all these threads of the yarn and whatever is being woven in it are on this loom. And so there are all of these energies in each one of these strands of cotton or fiber or whatever, because rope is made by twisting things together. So tinfoil, to get to your point about how many energies are there are as many energies as there are these strands on these timelines of time and space. And speaking will put a force out, a wave as I speak here in the house. Some of it will get muffled by the glass, but the fact that I'm recording it, it goes into the ether. All right. So my spoken word is being heard by the cosmos, which that means my energy, if I focus it, and if my intent is correct, then the right number of people will understand what I'm speaking about and how important this really is. So these energies are they are twisted, not necessarily as being like twisted in the head, but simply twisted as you would make string, cord, rope, whatever. That type of twisted in a good way. And so each one of these threads could have gazillions of timelines. And on each one of those timelines, there are a gazillion energies, literally. There are so many of them that trying to understand how many would just drive you mad. So forget it. Just accept that they're there. And that's part of this thing. We must accept that there are gazillions of energies, and we must drop this earth being idea that it's impossible, that so many things do exist, so many possibilities do exist, and using the loom of fate, meaning that all of these lines and all these things are the fabric of time and space on the loom. Now, what has happened is that someone has come along, meaning the nasties, and have put a knife into this fabric, and they have cut it and split it. And so what we're experiencing right this minute, because there are all of these different timelines that are being woven back and forth together, are the fact that if you take a piece of string, thread, I thought maybe I had something nearby, but if you just take a piece of string or thread and fray the end, in other words, and you'll see all the different ends coming out. Someone cut our fabric of space here in our area, and that by cutting those timelines, severing them, if you will, it's left the edges frayed. So this end's all frayed like this, and this end's all frayed like this, and it's sort of like brain trauma that many of us suffer from, or with, or of, is that we're learning how to reconnect our neurons. Our bodies, those of us with brain trauma, have learned a special technique simply because the brain knows how to rewire itself. But our time and space continuum has been shredded isn't the right word. Frayed. I'll just go back to that. Frayed. So, but what's happening now is with our power, with our intent, because we are already spiritual beings, okay, that's a given. Now that we're gaining the knowledge that something's wrong and needs correcting, now we can use that knowledge, which is our power, to go to the next point, which is to create. We have to have a thought and a focal point. Well, the focal point is to fix this mess. And if enough of us focus on fixing the frayed ends and to just, here's a simple thought and a simple wish. But if enough people got together and had this simple thought and a wish, I wish for all the frayed ends of the universe to be healed. That covers a bunch of stuff without going into detail. But there's a strict, there is a strict intent, which is you understand that the timelines and things have been frayed. So with that knowledge and that power and with your intent and the focus, you are focusing on a particular thing. Even though it could be complicated in the long run, you simply wish it to heal. Well, how it heals is not the wish, it's that it does. So we're assuming because it's the cosmos and things can heal themselves. I know, but that simple phrase that I just made, if enough of us did that and like kind of, maybe repeated it, not necessarily as a mantra, but during the day, I wish the fabrics of time and space be healed. Without saying a prayer or praising God or nobody, just having that, because you have combined those things which my spirit guide, Mother Mary, my angel contacts, and the galactics are all agreeing on this one. This is how we get there. Because once you start realizing these really simple facts and drop everything else, and I know it's going to be so hard for folks in my continued prayer, but that you will just get how simple it is. And that we don't have to jump through hoops or do a bunch of hoopla, boopla, boogly crap, that we all start having a good thought. My intent is tomorrow, I'm going to say 10 times, I wish the fabric of time and space be healed. Now, if it is still whole in another part of the universe, then we don't care. I mean, this doesn't matter. So we don't have to specifically pick a place on the timeline or a time or whatever. By simply making that statement with intent, that would mean any timeline at any place in the universe, in any galaxy, in any dimension, it would include them all. So a simple prayer like that, with the energy and intent that we have, because first, most Christians they got to get their okay from God first, okay? And they got to go to the Bible to get this inspiration from. And when the information is just so basic, so the more we drop our societal learnings, the more we understand the very simple core energy value and what I just described in this. And maybe I'll have to write this in the description or something because to me, it's really important. as a person on my journey as a shaman. But it was written for everybody else, for me to communicate. Yeah, it explains a lot for me, but I kind of knew the sequence anyway, because I have already, created plays and etc. So, but it wasn't explained to me in a core spiritual kind of way that relates to what's happening to us now. So one of the things, and because each energy has a different wave pattern, much like an oscilloscope where you watch the little waves go up and down in electronics. Okay, think of it that way, which it is. So there is a median, there's a line across the oscilloscope, and the wave goes above it, and then it goes below it. Usually, the height of the peak of the wave will also match the valley of the wave. Why is this important? What's that got to do with the surfer? Okay, now I'm going to use this and bring it in real quick, because we're getting waves of energy we can't see. We can feel them. Some of these waves are literally knocking us down and knocking us out. Me, other people, I've got calls, I've seen watched in chat rooms. Okay, so we're all feeling this, but we can't see it. Now, my analogy of this is simple. We are body surfing in the ocean blind. We understand we're in the ocean. We understand that there's a wave behind us. Or maybe in front of us, but hopefully you would get the sensation of the ocean to know that, or that you walked into the ocean so you know where the beach is. Okay, that's my point. So you have certain orientations that you're aware of. However, you can feel around your legs and whatever, if you've ever been in the ocean and felt waves, you can feel it kind of being sucked back out, So that lets you know something's coming. All right. Now, if you go further out where the waves don't break, then you just get this wavy motion. Now, to the point, when you go over the top of that bugger, you're going to end up at the bottom of the next one. It's just the way it goes. Hey, Tinfoil, did you miss me? I missed you, man. I missed you. So when we have really high days, like right now, I'm feeling the glow from the full moon, I reckon. But by allowing the energies to go through and not trying to block them or hold them off or whatever, by my simple thought of allowing it and thanking the cosmos for having the energy to come through. So going back to the surfboard, or actually body surfing. So you can blind body surfing. So you can feel the wave rising behind you. And many of us can feel like, wow, this is really uplifting. And we're all in a really good positive mood. And then 2 days later it's like, oh my God. That's just the bottom of the wave. That's all. And until it levels out or whatever. Yeah, he comes and goes, Phoebe. Actually, he's disappeared when he says he's here. And I'm like, okay, but I love the internet. and the weird, creepy things that goes along. Yeah, it says you had to pause it, but it skips right forward to the present, right when you pause it. That's because I'm using the plus sign on the YouTube thing that says go live, and it puts me into a Google chat thing. If I go to the dashboard on YouTube and use the go live there, that's when it will pause and then you can pick it up, because the DVR thingy is turned on in that setting. If I just go hit the button on the front, it puts me into this. Now, I used this one because when I was doing my video yesterday, I guess, I saw people that were there, but I couldn't see any chat. So I don't know if anybody wrote anything or not. So it was like, I wasn't trying to be rude, but I didn't see anything. So tonight I was like, no, I'm just going to hit the plus button because I can see the chat in this version. Anyway. So, but back to the wave, which is better? Of which? I was talking about the types of things on the. I have issues with this Chromebook and YouTube as it uses Google Hangouts for this type of computer. And there are two different apps for Chrome for Google Hangouts. One works better on the plus one, which I'm using now. I notice I'm a little grainy, but it seems like I'm not causing too much frame displacement. The other one, however, I have to literally log out of the one type of Google. One's an app and the other is an extension. Okay, so, and YouTube is supposed to like, oh, we're so happy, friendly. Oh my gosh, so many things don't work. But anyway, so, but that's my situation. Miss Phoebe, depending on your camera, there are a lot of the cameras now that plug into your USB port that have a mic in them. And you should check and just go into your settings, depending on the computer you have, click on the microphone dealie, and it might be that you just need to add it as a microphone for your computer. Because I know I've got an older model, you know, little one, but it has an internal mic, by the way. I got, you did that? Does your camera have a microphone on it then? You loaded you and Milky Way on Twitter? I got way off, too far off base on some subjects when I'm really trying to stick with, you know, energy and things. But it takes me down a little hole that, you know, in certain times. Oh, so you were, it does have a mic. Cool. Cool beans. Good info then. But riding these waves, and like the other morning as I described before, and I just couldn't explain it, except for the fact that in my dream state, I realized why I had so many tears. Cool beans, Phoebe. And it was the fact that I saw all of these people, all of these truths coming out, me trying to explain about physics and using a washing machine as an example is so real and so basic. And if you can watch water slosh around in a washing machine, you can understand what's going on with the planet with just a little bit of thought. Never thought to be able to use these computers and gadgets till 20 years ago. And I've been reading and listening to all the channelings and all the conspiracy theory and all the other funny stuff. Yeah, I've been listening to this funny stuff in my head since I was, you know, little. You know, I mean, you know, my grandparents are dead, my mother and dad are dead, and my aunt's still alive, though, and she remembers it. Is that when you're a little kid, 3, 4, 5 years old, you know, they ask you, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I remember Grandma told me this before she passed away many years ago. But she goes, David, because she had come up here to Georgia to visit my place. And then she went home, and several months later, she got more ill and died. But anyway, she got a chance to come up here to the farm here in Georgia and dig potatoes and work in the garden for a little bit. And she looked at me and she goes, you know, David, she goes, when you were little, you told everybody, what are you going to be when you grow up? And you said, I'm going to live in the woods and be a hermit and live on a river. I got a river about an eighth of a mile behind me, and kind of living like a hermit in the woods. Well, so Grandma said before she passed, look at all these things you said when you were a kid. Well, Grandma Raleigh and I, even though we were not blood related in any way, because of my adopted mother was her mother. So I hate to use a stepmother, but I know this has been written since I was a child. And so when people try to, oh, Dave, you're making this up. Well, I wish Granny were alive to be able to tell you that. And like I said, some of my relatives will remember it, my siblings possibly, but my aunt would remember it because that's what he taught. David's going to be a hermit when he grows up. He's going to live in the swamp. Blah, 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 blah. You know, I'm like, here I am. So I knew what my story was. I just didn't know what it meant. So, okay, you're going to be a hermit. You're going to learn. You're going to live in the woods. You're going to do all these things. Then what? Because that was my question. So Mother Mary comes and she drops these things on me. And my next question is, but what am I going to do with it? You'll see when you get there. Oh, well, the frustration of that answer at times made me want to just, would you just frickin' tell me? Well, it wouldn't have made much sense. And they did tell me. But I was so caught up in all these other things, I missed that part, even though it was right there. I missed it. And sometimes you have to go back over what you read or you learned or whatever and revisit that dream or revisit whatever that information is. And you go, oh, crap, that one or two sentences right there had some key information in it, which is that my job is communicator. Okay. I've been in, theater. I've been on many different radio stations down here in South Georgia. They've closed them all down, or they've all gone on the bird or whatever. Everything's gone digital, so they don't need DJs anymore. But, I used to work the night shift and play records, running on empty. Jackson Browne, was the first one south of Atlanta to ever play that, and they played the entire album back in the day. I mean, I got those kind of memories, and yeah, it was a blast, and I figured that I'd be able to retire as a talk show DJ. Actually, I'll be like, actually, it was Art Bell, right, who just passed away, but by far the best in the interactive capability worldwide, anyone with anyone. Absolutely. Wait, I missed one. The Jeff Rench Show really opened up a lot of subjects I had not known about back in about 2003. I would need more decades to get through 3% of the important stuff to learn on the internet. But by far the best is the interactive capability worldwide, anyone with anyone. Absolutely. And one of the things I'm so blessed with, and I mean, Brian on Milky Way Weekly was saying how people in the chat room during the chat, and I'm guilty of this, we're chatting about a different subject while whoever is speaking is speaking. I'm guilty of that on other chat rooms, but at least I tried to have it relate to whatever the subject is. I try not to distract anyone or take away from the subject matter. But Brian said that everybody was on topic. He said there wasn't any stray conversations going on. He goes, I've been to a lot of things. They were staying on topic with what you were discussing, Dave. And he goes, okay. So thank you very much. So I'm going to just try to get better and not to sway off subject. But as I've stated, my brain and I are reteaching us how to be us again. The description of being a tribe of one. I made my decision years ago, and that's what pulled me out of the wheelchair. That's what pulled me out of using a cane. I mean, so many other things. That were physically wrong with me and mentally in a way. Oh, Tinfoil, your name is Brian too. Oh, I did not know that. 53 in Michigan. I've got friends up in Michigan, but I can't. I think they're in the lower peninsula. I can't remember. Anyway, but they do live in Michigan. I chose this life. I remember the wetness coming out, netting, and those dang feety jumpers that made me puke. I was given 3 choices and shown a vague narrative of the 3 lives. I chose the challenge. That, Miss Phoebe, I understand. You know, I don't know if I don't, there's nothing in my recall that says that I had a choice in this matter. I mean, as far as having a different path, because it seems like every time something has tried to deviate from my path, I've tried to move to Arkansas and got slapped around and this and that. And I'm back down here in South Georgia. Try to move, I get smacked down here to South Georgia. But so why here? Well, there are spiritual things. I was here on this particular property, at least in this, not necessarily on this spot, but within a half a mile of this area, way back when. And I did some very naughty, nasty things to some Native Americans, because that was the way back then. I wasn't Native American. Now, how do I know this? Because there is a tribute at the top of the hill on my property. There is a Native American who, if there, some of his bones are there, because one medicine man and 2 other psychic people, not together but separately, have said that they think he's still up there. But his spirit does roam this hill in this area. And my next door neighbor, while clearing a flat spot to move his mother's trailer in, found 250 arrow points, spear tip points that are like this long. That's 8 inches. And they were like 3-4 inches longer, in perfect condition, because whoever the leader, the chief or whatever, who was murdered here, buried here at the top of the property, they all laid these ceremonial knives and blades and arrow points. Oh my God, these things are phenomenal. But he got cursed because he sold some of them. That's a side point. But to the point, though, the only way you would find that quantity in a little spot is because there is a burial nearby. Now, they would never bury these implements or whatever with the body or the remains. They would be on a separate location. Like if they did a funeral pyre here, they would all come up and they would put their gifts, but the gifts would be buried along with the remains. So he didn't find any bones, which means, and where he dug them up is like 10 foot from the edge of our property line. And he's already graded downhill. So, which means the grave is still on my property. Now, in a way long time ago, I had something to do with some of that, of killing or something and being a very rude person. I am back on this piece of dirt to heal what I did in a previous life. Now that's a personal thing, you know, and other people have said, man, there's an entity on here that's really pissed at you. And I'm like, yeah, I disrespected and was a mean SOB in a previous life. And I'm here to try to correct that. And so my prayers on this property, after I have found this out, along with all this other stuff, is that I'm trying to heal this piece of dirt from not only the wrongs that I did as a human being in a previous life on this piece, but that other people here did, and the disgrace they did to the Native Americans when they come in here and blah, blah, blah. So, and I don't know the whole story, but there was something. Yes, Phoebe, gave him a gift. Oh, my shaman friend, Gray Wolf, we went up there when we found out what had happened. And he was like, you know, Dave, he goes, you know, I've been to burial sites. And he said, we should be standing like right on him or her, but probably a chieftain, because of the way the arrow points and spear points and everything. And I actually gave my own blood and he did as well. He started the ceremony. And so in our honor to his desecration, if you will, we allowed our own blood in the ceremony to bring respect back to him. And we drummed for 3 days, off and on, because he would drum and I would drum. We'd drum together. I mean, we just kept it up. And we had to quiet down at night because the neighbors were like right across the road, and they like wanted to shoot us both for being Indian. They knew I was kind of like that, an old hippie dude, and they allowed me to be in their neighborhood. And I mean that. There are some KKK folk around here. Don't let a black man come down my driveway. And I didn't realize until that event how bad they hated them damn Indians too. In fact, I'm going to repeat what they said, what they say. A damned Indian is worse than a nigger. That's their comments. So, and they don't think very much of either one, but that's these old KKK folk around here, and they're still here. You know, whether that's a good thing, because I don't have to worry about a bunch of people invading our neighborhood out here, which is about a 2 square mile area, actually. This direction, that direction. Anyway. But so we gave as much respect back as we could understand that the two of us could give. And that, especially after I found out what had happened, my continuous prayer of honor is helping to heal the earth. What I realized was, although the incident was short in time for the cruelty and the meanness, etc., that was here, its effect was very, very, very long because of it being in the 1800s. It was after 1815 to, I don't know, I seriously think I was in the Civil War. However, which is kind of weird because I think I was in the Civil War in Anderson Prison as a Northerner. Actually captured Kentucky Regiment, but and I've been to Andersonville Jail, the site. Boy, that's some powerful stuff. The spirits roaming that place. Whew. So in trying to bring honor and respect back to what happened in the incident and the disrespect to this chieftain, because 250 arrow points and I've seen some of these things. My neighbors showed them off. And now that I'm on this particular topic, that is a segue into this other section I was just going to not do right now. But I did it when I was reading it with Brian of Milky Way Weekly. So, but now I understand, after having said that with this disgrace and so forth, that this too is important with this message. This is in response to sort of like what is love? What is the energy of love, the nature, but, you know, and how important kind of thing. And I mean, I already understand, but this is something that came in a way that puts it on a deeper level. And I will read this to you. This is later on the same evening that after what I read about the knowledge and the magic. So this is just like an hour later. And it says, Love must be for all, in all times and all dimensions. Our love is our honor. My love is my honor. And my honor is my, my love is my honor, and my blood is that life energy. And my honor to Creator is awash with the honor to all of the Creator's manifestations of all life forms and all beings. Love must be for all in all the times and dimensions, because loving especially those we must forgive as we are forgiven, especially when we were asked to forgive or to be forgiven. The key you seek to life and enlightenment is without and also within. You, plural, have locked those doors of knowledge with fear, and fear made you shut those doors. Back to the doors in the room. We must look into our past to see if there are people who are holding our energy back. An ex-wife, girlfriend, I don't know, but could they be holding our energy back? So when you look around your room as a tribe of one, there is a key. There is no fear. You create it. But you simply shut out the rest because of the fear. Fear has cloaked those doors, and a spell hides the doorknobs, but the doors are not locked. When standing in the room with the doors around you, observe what is missing in the fog. Take and hold a crystal as a torch. Light the room with the energy. Don't ask, but tell the mist to lift and allow the knobs to be seen. It is us who are fearful of the mist because of what's been taught. So we fear opening up a door because there may be something bad behind it. We've been taught these things. So our fears of, well, I don't know what this means, or, oh my God, I'm getting communication from spirits. I have a guardian angel. Oh my God, I can now feel a light pressure on my shoulder when they're nearby. Oh my God, this is freaky. A lot of people freak out. But these are the doors that have been shut. These are the doorknobs that have been hidden by fear. So as we stop fearing these actually simple things, the doorknobs appear. The spell is broken. Let me turn the page. What you sing in your heart is peace from the heart. Words help to unlock the windows of the crystal world. And What is to come is what you have already been shown. Now, by crystal world, we're supposed to be turning into more crystalline type beings. So our crystal world are, yes, it is the use of crystals in our world, but it is also that by understanding this, that we are related to these that beings that inhabit these rocks or who channel through them, that we are with those other beings as well. And that is the crystal world, in that as we ascend, we're going to become more translucent, crystalline, if you will. Flexible, but crystalline, so that's important. So this download of information that I got here, which I thought, well, this is just personal, thank you very much. But the more that I've walked over it and looked at it, I've thought to myself, OMG, this could help a bunch of folk, So now, let's see. There's a really cool story that goes with this. And the story is told from, as a Native American would be telling a group of youngins around the fire or whatever, teacher, whatever, okay? Now, this is important because it helps to, like a parable, explain energetically some things, okay? And that those energies can be directed, tuned in, harmonized with Mother Earth and the beings and the grasses and the animals, everything on this planet and through the universe. So now, this was on the same day that I wrote everything else up to this point. And that I've had this dream, and I'm really having issues with what particular tribe this shaman that I saw in these visions. And I want to say Paiute, but I'm not positive, but it keeps coming back to that's what it is. Now, he was a shaman grass dancer. Now, in Native American traditions, there are different types of dances. There, anyway, grass dance, stomp dance, different types. Okay, and different people are pulled to a particular type of dance, and some might be hoop dance. Okay, so like some people might like to do the Charleston versus the waltz, whatever. All right, so now the shaman in the dream was in very tall grass on the plains out west. Now, when I've been out west and have seen the plains out there in Wyoming, I've been almost all the way across the state, and then we went north into Montana. And when they say that's big sky country, if you've never been, you should try at least. But how far you can see off in the distance, and the grass is blowing in the wind, and you've seen movies and pictures of this, and I'm sure there are areas, in the country near where you live, that when the weed or the tall grass comes up and the wind blows, that you see these undulations and things. Okay, this is where we're headed for this. All right, this grass dancer, and when I saw him, he walked in tall grass. In other words, the grass was so tall, and he wasn't necessarily a short person, but that the grass was as tall or taller than him. So you couldn't see him except maybe for the feather that stuck up from his headband. All right, so the tall grass grew where he walked. He walked, they said, his spirit was so clear and clean that his aura traveled before him. And because he wished no harm on any being or anything, that the grass parted as he walked. His reverence for creation was so intense and so spiritual, and why his spirit parted the tall grasslands, but also where he walked like a path, the grasses would grow taller than the surrounding grass. And they called him Tall Grass Man Walking. It was said that when he stopped to rest, the grass would grow around him and it would make a pillow for his head, soft and comfort for him to lay upon, so that no part of his body touched the ground. Shelter would grow overhead in case of rain or snow. And despite the cold, the grass would grow so thick and tight as to hold out the tightest of winds to blow in and would protect him. And that the snugness that would choke another person was actually like him being in a cocoon or a womb. Now, as the story goes, the narrator asked the audience, do you think he was a special person? Was he a special person? And the answer is, not really. No. As a child, he simply loved the grass. And when he was a little boy, his mama, as with other mothers and native tribes in them days, would lay him in the tall grass. And being a baby, the grass didn't have to be very tall to be taller than he was. And so they would put him in the grass while they'd go over and by the river and wash, cook, whatever they were doing. Now, that doesn't mean that they were neglecting him, and the grass would grow right next to the teepee. Follow me, just with the grass. They weren't taking the child and putting him by himself. Now, he could hear the mothers as they planted and worked at the edge of the field, but he could only see the tops of the grasses where they walked. And so this young boy, still in his crib, still in his basket, he imagined when he moved his hands that the grasses would weave and dance and wave back to him. Now, at first, as a very young child, the wind was actually doing this. However, as he grew, when he was bored on a windless day, he would pretend that when he moved his hand, the grass would move. And he learned to move this because he learned to wish. He would make a wish that the grass would move for him and wave and dance and be grass. He would gesture with his hands, and eventually the winds and the grass both heard this simple child's wish. The boy loved the grass. He loved Mother Earth. He was so intent with his spiritual energy that each and every day he thanked the grass for all it provided to the peoples, and the grass fed all the animals and the bison, Oatanka, elk, the rabbits, the birds, the smaller plants, snakes, frogs, turtles, and all of these critters, all of God's creator's creations, that they could see and sense the honor of this young man, of this young boy, and that as he grew up, the boy's respect just deepened, and nature and all of its inhabitants learn to respect him back equally in harmony. And so, with the honest and eternal honor and respect and genuine love that he had for the grasses and for the rest of the creation, but especially the grasses learned to respect the boy to a point of allowing the grass would not allow his feet to touch the earth, not in disrespect, but in reverence. And so everywhere the grass walker walked, whether it be desert, the grass would grow before him as he walked. And that as he walked, he would leave these paths in strange wilderness places. And some of these are in ravines along old rivers and things like that. So even they say that some of his remnants of his walking upon the earth still has his energy. Now, both he and the grasses became almost one, and simply out of honor and respect for one another. Nothing magical, nothing particularly special. The simple thing is that he respected Mother Earth, the grasses, and the grasses in turn believed and respected and honored him. And that's all that was necessary. And so he was at peace with the grass, with honor and love, which included all of Mother Earth. And if you also will be at peace with Mother Earth, honor and respect and love, then Mother Earth will reward you. And that's the blessing of that message. I stopped and thought about that and I'm like, well, hello, Miss Marie. I didn't want to interrupt myself, as I'm so apt to do, but I do wish you blessings and hello. So these messages coming in that I've seen that's important to relate to folk. Again, I want to reiterate, this has nothing to do with any type of cult, any type of worship. In fact, it's the opposite of worship. It's so far away from worship. But it is within our beings and spirits of the most utmost of love to beyond my space or here to literally expand it. But as this veil is being lifted from all of us, and I'm going to get back to the wave energy thing here in a second, because it has to do with the respect in this story about what was related to me. Now, I've heard similar stories of a grass man or a shaman. I cannot say that that's what this story is. However, I've had visual dream type things of stories. I mean, like word for word, write them down. And then as I traveled as a storyteller, I would tell my animal stories. Well, I would come to find out that a lot of these stories were never written down because it's all oral tradition. And so by hanging out with some of these storytellers and true legend keepers, come to find out that some of the stories that I downloaded are pretty dang correct, like over 75% kind of deal, you know, without me having any physical previous knowledge in this world of that particular subject. Now, maybe I heard a story somewhere, but there's some of these things I'm like, have you heard the story? No. Do you know about this? No. What about this? No. Okay. Why is this important? It's because synchronicity. The information is out there for each one of us. It's out there for all of us. And as the tall grass walking, it's actually, the translation is more that it's more like he who walks with tall grass is what they're trying to explain. There's a word I can't there. His name is I can't pronounce, but it means he who walks with tall grass. But it also means that the grass walks with him and in front of him. So it has to walk with him, and it does freely. So now, there are stories about where, places where Jesus stepped. There are stories of where a Buddha had stepped, and different deities or very spiritual prophets or something. And so one might stop and think and say, well, I think that's probably just pure hogwash. But now if you think on the quantum level and you say, well, wait a minute now, I do believe that all things are possible. That's number one. That's key. So if you believe that all things are possible, then it could happen. Now, if someone has the most positive intent, like I was describing about putting on a play and actors and being the tribe of one, all that's very important. So the more that you can pull these things together, the more you can create, especially for me, the last thing I would want to do would be to create something negative. I have done so inadvertently or hurt somebody's feelings during a process, but never with intent have I wanted to hurt someone. And when I did that way back when, that curse will come back on you and hit you. So with that said, why is this important to the energies that are going now? All right. These are ancient energies. These are bringing up things of us from previous lives. Why is this important about the grass, man who walks in tall grass? It's important because it shows what is possible if we have true love and honor. And you say, well, Dave, that's a fake story. No, well, maybe. Really? Or could it be? Now, of things that I've studied and other things, like Johnny Appleseed. Okay, did he walk across the United States and throw apple seeds everywhere? Is that a myth? Well, there's apple trees that grow in a lot of places, and there is stuff to kind of substantiate that story. And if there wasn't Johnny Appleseed, there were people who took seeds with them when they moved across the plains and so forth. So maybe not in a direct one person Johnny Appleseed, the theory of people moving across and planting seeds as they went, that was Johnny Appleseed. Okay. Johnny on the spot. Ha ha ha. So, but with that, he who walks in tall grass could be all of us. It could be any of us. It could have been a number of people. And why would that happen? Now, it might be that those people who had respect took grass seeds with them, and they helped to plant the prairies, and they helped to establish or maintain the prairies. So in that respect, those people are walking with the grass. They are grass walkers because of their intent. I mean, the folks that lived on the prairie, oh my God, they were sod busters and built houses, in the dirt, in the mud, and made them out of sod and built them, blah, blah. Can you say earthship? Which is what everybody's going back to now. And so they did it back in the day because there weren't any trees, there wasn't anything else. And they simply had to do it. Now, with that said, we have choices. You can drag lumber in and build a house now, but back in those days, if you were living there, that's what you did. So you do what you do. But now people who live in the dirt and surrounded by Mother Earth in an earthship house type thing, I know by my having my feet on this concrete floor, which is made comprised of the clay and the dirt from here and cement. That's what my floor is made out of. So it's made out of stuff from here. It's made out of here versus me living 2 or 3 feet off the floor or something else. Anyway, so my intent with building the house was to make sure that I could walk on Mother Earth when it's nasty outside, and I could walk barefoot in here, So my house is my intent, and my intent is to build something that doesn't require, now I say maintenance. We had a thunderstorm earlier and it rained all over in here. I got a leak on the daggum roof, doggone it. And so I'm gonna have to figure out how to curl up on a 20 foot up to the eave height. Yeah, buddy. So, but anyway, I can't complain because that tin's been on the house for 32 years. Can't complain. Haven't had any problems, but it's been up there 32 years, and I'm sure that some of the nails are loose and et cetera, or a screw or two or whatever, expansion and contraction, but can't complain. I mean, I know people who've already had 2 roofs on their house with shingles. I haven't replaced anything on my roof except put a couple dabs of tar up there, and that's only been on the screw holes kind of deal. Anyway, so my intent when I built this house was to be as close in. I used recycled tobacco barns to build a lot of this house, and the termites loved it. Twice. I tore down a house and the termites came in and ate it, and I had to replace it, and the wood I put back in it, I was using old barn wood. I came up off the ground, I treated it for termites, and the sons of gun went up there above my head and ate it up on the 2nd floor. Buggers. Termites have had it out for me. And I prayed to them and asked them to please move. And they were like, but we've been here before you. So you're the one that ought to, And I'm like, well, go over there and eat the shed then. Which they're doing at a pretty good clip, I might add, right now. So termites are bad down here. Oh, holy moly, girl. Oh, man, are they bad. To try to keep this in what do we do with these new energies coming in? If we understand that we're standing in the ocean and we've oriented ourselves to where we know that in front of us is the beach, because we would rather not face a big wave in the ocean head on. It's going to beat the crap out of us, knock us over. And so our choice is to turn sideways, face it, whatever. So orientation, where are you in your surroundings? This is a cigarette, by the way. I ran out of stove-out cigarettes, and it's the end of the month, so I roll my own. So if you allow your senses to be awake and aware, which is important, then you can feel the wave behind you. Now, you may not see the top of the wave. You may not be able to gauge how tall the wave is, but you know that there's a wave back there. And you know that at a certain point, you're going to kind of feel a lifting, and that if you push off with it, you can actually go with the wave and surf it. So this is where I'm headed with this. We all know that we're getting energy from all different directions. Awareness is one of the first key parts. Next, we know they're coming in, and we've all been feeling these things. And so what next? Well, the other day we were all having, oh man, I feel so tired. Oh, what's up? Well, guess what? We were on the downside of one energy wave at the bottom of the wave, so we could start up the other side. Now with full moon tonight, blessings, full moon folk, crystals of light and blessings around the planet. And I'm using this full moon energy to my benefit. Yes, I am. This is earth magic. I am putting forth these things into the universe with a good tone of voice, with my best intent, with my heart, my soul heart, and the soul of my heart. I put this out into the universe on this full moon. I thank Creator. I thank all the beings and all the ethereals. I thank my ancestors, all of my relations, all of the elders, and all beings, higher and lower. I thank you from the universe, as one is be to another. I thank you. And I wish to show my respect to all other beings simply by saying, I thank you, I love you, Wado. So my full moon energy right now, I'm using this because I realize there are a lot of nasty mofos out there that are trying to do the opposite. And so by being calm with positive, I didn't realize I was going to do this earlier. Okay, it just happened. Milky Way and I had our interview thing, and then I just felt compelled. I had to try to straighten this out a little bit more clear on this, what I was speaking about. But to me, I've traveled a really long road to realize that I was already there when I started the journey. Meaning, I had all the information, I had all the knowledge, I had all the energy. But before I started down this, because of society, I had to get thrown in the ditch, dug underwater, thrown up in the sky, heated to death, froze to death, turned into an ice cube a time or two, to end up back at go. I don't get $200, but I realize now I don't need the $200. I mean, that's kind of weird. But to the point, yeah, meant all the way around. And I've lived in high places. I've been elbow to elbow with multimillionaires, lived in their houses, taken care of it, was going to work for a company. And I'm glad I didn't, but up in North Carolina, actually, yeah, it was in North Carolina, right on the edge of South Carolina, actually. And but this guy was just a real butthole, and I'm glad I didn't work for him. I didn't go to work for him. I mean, I really missed the fact that I didn't get to move to, the North Carolina next to the National Forest there. So, but anyway, the Pisgah, by the way, Sliding Rock. Hendersonville, North Carolina. That's where it was. And so, but in learning all I forgot where I was, and I got misplaced and displaced. All of these energies, though. Oh, riding the waves, yes. So I've been taking it, trying to look at it. A surfboard is one way to use the energy of the energies coming in. Now, I'm getting this idea that, okay, what if you don't know how to surf, or what if? Okay, so I'm just kind of getting this analogy right now at the moment. And that has to be with, okay, so let's all get in an inner tube, pump up the inner tube and put our little happy butt in the middle of that thing. And, what we need to do is help to guide it in such a way, though, that as we go up the wave, it doesn't flip us over, but that we could ride the crest of this. And if we don't take the wave into the shore or ride it for all it's worth, the least we can do is not get toppled over and drowned by the thing, but we top over the top, and then we go back down the bottom side of this. Our realization that there are high spots, low spots are very important to the human being right now, because this is what people are getting depressed, and they're going, oh my God, what's going on? And then 3 days later, they find out that, oh God, it's so high. But, well, that's great. We need to take this and already know, okay, I'm not quite sure when it's coming, but if I allow my energy to kind of pick up earth energy, I might be able to feel that waves as it starts to rise. Now, I must say at this particular point in looking back over the waves and the energies coming in, I can't remember a time when I was at the bottom of two waves. You know, it was like bottom and then more bottom. There has been a few times since the first of this year that the bottom, and it was a really short wave, and so you were back down to what seemed like the same bottom. You had just a little high spot, but then all of a sudden, the next wave coming in was a lot higher, the energy and so forth. I'm still using the analogy of the ocean, but it fits, okay, because of the wave action. So as we realize we're in this ocean of energy, accept where we are. Now, this message has been, while you're on your board, look up, look down, look in, look out, and be aware of all of your surroundings, both outside and within side, because the answer is both. We have to see the outside, reflect some of that back into our insides for understanding and knowledge. But as we get that knowledge, it's inside more than outside of where the power, the creativity, the energy, and by power, I mean mostly knowledge. But the combination of all those things makes us very powerful beings. That's just what it is. It makes us very powerful beings. And some might say that we are like gods. I would rather not use that terminology. I would rather just stick with, if you got to put a Christian something on it, we're angels. And we could have been angels on the earth if other forces had not interfered. And so one of the things that is being recreated are the fabrics of that, of the loom of life that has been cut, severed, or pulled apart. Been more like cut. That we are, as a collective, as we wake up, as is-bees in this universe. Our wish is to correct this. And each one of us, even though I really want out of this, I want the earth to heal. Okay, well, that means including repairing the timelines and the frayed ends and how our world has been fractured. And I'm swinging back to the tribe of one. Because as we awaken, as Brian has stated, and Marie and Phoebe and all of us, we are all part of this fracture. But with each of us and what we know, I mean, Miss Marie, you put blessings. By simply typing blessings into a chat, that is sending such wonderful energy to the universe. And the more each of us are aware of it, that these simple little sigils, these little spells that we put by saying, I wish you greetings, love, honor, and respect, and blessings upon you. Whoa! Now, how are you going to come back with the sword and say, well, that's a bunch of crap? No, this is all good. And once we speak it, and especially, it's like for me, I wouldn't speak it if I didn't mean it, you know? And I realize, and there are some people, and I'm only going to give this little explanation. Somebody asked me one time, why don't you use namaste? Even though I've studied Buddha and followings and teachings and all that, why don't you use, you know, as a blessing or whatever, namaste? And I'm like, because that's not my blessing. That's somebody else's term they use for blessing. I want you to understand that there's nothing wrong with it. It's this, that's somebody else's place. That's somebody else's stuff. And, you know, it's like saying amen. Now, if you really knew where amen came from, and what it means is Amen Ra, and that when you say amen, you're paying tribute to the God Amen Ra. Look it up. It's creepy. So I try my best not to say amen any longer. Bring heaven to earth as God originally intended, not wanting to escape it. We got compromised, and it wasn't our fault, Miss Marie, because the more information that's coming out, and I don't know if you were in one of the conversations before or watched one of the other videos, but I'll state it here for you right now, is that about 10 days ago, about the time Trump announced the Space Force, was about the time the Galactics, the woo-woo edge, said, the ley lines are being cleared and strengthened, and the spider web that was keeping souls from ascending has been disbanded, and the new electromagnetic force field that is tuned to keep out the bad guys, they don't have the frequency now to penetrate this invisible shield around the earth now. And we've all kind of felt it in that something has changed. And it's like, even in politics and things, the evil folks are coming out, and this one's going to get, arrested, or this one's been charged with, and this is happening. So it's almost like it was headed down this one particular direction, and there was nothing going to stop it. Well, between the solstice and these other galactic things going on, our position in the solar system, etc., Earth energies, all that, Schumann resonance way up. So these things are now, I kind of feel like our energies have been at the bottom, but with the full moon and everything that's going on in the universe, I feel just energetically like we're heading back up to the top of another wave. Now, I don't know how high, large, whatever, but I feel that we've come out of the slump part, and now the next logical step in the waves and patterns is that we start up the next side. I just don't know how large or up, but I feel confident. We've all been too low for the last few days. We got to be heading up the face of the next wave coming in, just as a point of reference. So what I'm trying to show folks is that you might have a couple of down days in a row, but that just means that you're at the bottom of the wave as it went by. So anticipate, if I'm at the bottom of this slump, it's gonna come back up, period. Now, how long it takes, well, but everything's relative. However, if we continue to tune ourselves to this new energy and to the fact that awareness is the first thing, so we're all been feeling low, okay, full moon now, everything's pulling, we should be on the uprise. So pay attention. Are we? Will we? I don't know. Speculation. However, science and everything else proves the wave factor up and down, up and down. So that, to me, is, well, duh. I went over a big wave, coming down the side, and we're going to go back up the next one. So rather than to be depressed that, crap's been happening the last few days, and blah, 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 we're heading back up the other side. And the fact that these waves have been seen, predicted, etc., they're there. So awareness. I'm going to read your stuff. Go back. How people say they don't want to come back if reincarnation is so, and karma. They don't have a choice. And that's been the problem of the prison planet. The prison planet, as described by when I was doing the alien interview. In fact, I've got that open. There's a part in there that I found it was really interesting. But that Earth was a dumping off point for a lot of negative beings. And that's why we've got, from what the ISBs in the universe say, there are more artists and musicians and engineers and folks like that on planet Earth than are per capita than any other planet in the galaxy. because all of the old dissident souls from the old negative empire as political prisoners were dumped here. Well, as the empire went down, pirates took over, basically, and that the pirates said, so they started a business of a prison planet. So do you have an honest to God degenerate that, won't be done anywhere else? So that they're being dumped here too. So there is a disproportionate part of degenerates on this planet as well. I mean, I could never think of ripping somebody open or killing them. I just can't. I just don't have that thought process. But there are people who like to kill things just for fun and watch it bleed. So, but to the point. So, but there's a disproportionate of all of the above stuck here. Now, that recent developments are that now these spirits aren't forced to come back. Before, we didn't have a choice. Now we have a choice because they took down the spider and we can get out through the web. The replacement is they've got a new, and I'm kind of wondering because Trump talked about the Space Force and they were talking about that Elon Musk and some of these guys, there have been a lot of little tiny little spaceships go up there. Now, what would you do with little tiny spaceships, little clusters of them that spread out? What would the purpose of that be? To create a grid. And what kind of grid would the easiest thing to do? Some type of electromagnetical type of thing or something. Why would Trump bring up Space Force? To secure that the United States, he's actually meaning the world because him and Putin have got a deal, but that the Space Force is for the defense of the Earth. From what? Well, because we just got rid of some nasties. We're trying to get rid of some more nasties, and that's to keep them damn pirates from coming down in here and looting and pillaging and doing all the nasty stuff. Because we're taking the planet back. Not just the United States or France or Italy. We are taking the planet back. But certain things had to be done first. Do I want my next generation perpetually reaping what we couldn't improve? Well, see, we're breaking the cycle. The cycle needs not to be repeated. It needs to be broken. That's why I'm having this conversation. Yeah, I listened to you read the alien interview. Reincarnated with memory wipes. Severe memory wipes. I'm going to be a bit delayed in chat. I'm getting buffed a bit. So if I refresh, I missed what you previously was said. Yes, it's happening. Yes, these energies are going on. And right now, awareness is the key. And I know you already are, Marie, and stuff like that. But it just keeps coming back to me, being hammered in, literally. I mean, it almost hurts the back of my head. Tell these folks not to panic. Step out of the negative as much as you can. And especially you have the choice, we have the choice whether or not to react in a negative way or to allow negative emotions to just go by, forgive where that really needs forgiving. And because if we get caught up, if we continuously allow ourselves to be caught up in the stupidness, then we just continue to be stupid. And it's just not necessary. So all of my prayers and all of my visions and all of the things that are coming to me are how to show people a different point of view, a different thought process, and as simple as a washing machine and water going around as an example of the earth and the universe, for God's sakes, if that's what it takes. And not because, keep the link in the chain. And the thing is that some of the links have been missing, and me being from the country and hanging around, they use baling wire to put the links back together instead of using a real honest to God link or one that screws together, or, you know, an honest to God replacement link. Somebody just took some baling wire and this chain's been held together with hook or by crook and you know, redneck engineering from the word go, you know. And so we are now, the engineers are coming together and we're taking these frayed ends, and these are the light workers, and these are, you know, folks who are paying attention. So with our intent, my wish is that all the frayed ends of all the timelines that have been broken, split, or frayed to be healed. Once I saw the analogy of the frayed ends in that TV series, The Librarians. Now, I brought it up earlier in this, but I'll bring it up to you, Marie. If you haven't seen it, I get Hulu. I think it's on TNT, but it's called The Librarians. And some of the stuff they discuss and the subjects and the time warp quantum thing, oh my God, is exactly what's going on so many levels. It's true. And I know it's just a show, but whoever put that thought process together is right on track of what's really happening in the universe. It's just that we don't see it. We aren't looking for the frequency. We have become fragmented. So how do we pull the tribe back together? That's my next meditation chain of thought, for example. How do we get the puzzle pieces without forcing them to see each other, to go, oh, there's the puzzle part. Oh, there's the puzzle. And I'm meaning more of as in human beings as puzzle parts versus information so much. Because to be quite blunt, what the hell does it matter where we come from if we all wish to go to the same place? I mean, so you're from India. Okay, come on, let's go. And you're from Africa. Okay, come on, let's go. You're from Mexico. Come on, let's go. Hey, well, I got a relative in Chile. Okay, come on, you can come too. There's some crazy Canucks I know. Come on, you guys can come too. If we all have the same focus, focal point, creative, etc. So we don't need anything else. We don't need religion. We're not a cult. We're not anything. We're ISBEs. We're beings in this universe. And when we put our collective together without going through a bunch of heebie-jeebie, what we can create, we can tear down the rest of the fence, the rest of the nasties, and we can positively, simply by our intentions and thoughts, heal these timelines, heal these wounds, heal what the bad guys have been stabbing, killing, and doing. We can change the frequency of nuclear waste to where it is inert. We can. They've done it. They've proven it. And it's kind of magic in a way, but it has to do with frequency. You change the frequency of something yucky and you do a little mojo, like maybe it's a sound or a light wave or whatever, and you make it happy again. Well, that sounds kind of ridiculous, but that's what they're finding out. People are being healed by sound and light and vibrations, magnetism, without being cut into. Tumors are being shrunk, and people are growing limbs, and oh my God, all these things that are happening without any adverse intrusion to our bodies or our auras or our beings. And these all are things positive. They're happening now. We just need to keep on a positive, regardless of all the other side stuff, because we do have the answer. And it really is simple. And I don't know, it seems like if presented simply enough, but correctly and succinctly enough, any idiot ought to be able to go, wait a minute, that kind of makes sense. Let me stop thinking. If I just stop them in their tracks with thinking that, well, that's the way they, well, wait a minute, hang on, just hang on. I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'm not saying that you're right. I'm not saying that I am right, but I'm going to give you some simple science and some simple observations and let you decide, because it's not that complicated when you put it in understandable terms and you stay away from scientific jigger-jagger and gobbledygook and, well, this is the pie of the thing. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what speed we're traveling and how fast we're going around on the earth. It doesn't matter whether this is it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter how rich or poor any of us are. We're all isbies in the universe. What matters is our intent. What matters is our personal honor, love, and our blood is our honor. And if we spill our blood, if we spill it, it should be with honor and respect to Mother Earth and all other living beings. Well, how hard is that? Well, to a lot of people, because they're too selfish still, or that's too simple an explanation. And to some of these physicists who still believe the core of the earth is there, I just say, my God, you're blinded by your own light. You're blinded by your own science. And because you've swallowed so much of that nasty pill, you can't upchuck it, then it's going to take a while for it to pass through to the other end. But boy, is it going to hurt them hemorrhoids on the other end coming out, you know? And so my worry now is that as these things come out, that people are just going to stand still. They're not going to believe in anything. Yes or no. You've lied to me so much. I'm not going to believe anything. Nothing. I don't give a damn. I mean, this is going to be their attitude. And I worry about that. It's almost like being in a stagnant pool, you know? And it's like right now, I mean, even being negative, sort of, in a way, because it's creating chaos and stirring the pot, as it were. But these people who are just thinking negative thoughts, but haven't done anything or killed or whatever, but they're on that, well, I don't believe, and this is all bad. And that is true. You're correct on many of those points, but you have to step out of that and go, yeah, all that's true. JFK, all the way up to here. Yep. Now, whether every single point is proven or truth or not truth or immaterial, the bottom line is we know we've been lied to. How much? It really doesn't matter. What matters now is the fact that we understand they lied. The next point is, what is true to us? From human being to human being to human being. Let's skip all the other stuff. Throw religions out, all of them, all of them. Religion is not a part of this conversation. It's about you and me and the next being and the next being and the next being. Forget all the rest. That's going to be the hard part. They're going to be choking, trying to forget. Or I can't forget. This is how I am. This is me. Well, but me, that's a false you. And you might be saying that you're a part of the matrix. Somebody somewhere along the line has instilled that timeline or that story into your subconscious. So you have learned and you feel that what is in that subconscious is what must be. And what the other is-bees are trying to show us, you, me, trying to explain this, is that, wait, hang on. Somebody else put that thought in there. And they made me forget who I truly am. And I'm just like you, and you are like me. We are all spiritual beings. How hard is that one? Really difficult if you can't drop everything else. And so, no, we can't take it with us. None of this is going with us. We can't fit through the eye of a needle like a camel. Oh, and I found an interesting part about that, and it might have been Gary Larrabee. I was reading a passage of the Bible, and they were talking about that easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than it would be for a rich man to carry his possessions into heaven. And so, but there was a place apparently in the wall of the city of Jerusalem, and that when the main gates were closed, there was a place in the wall that was small enough, if you took all the baggage off a camel, that a camel could squeeze through along with a person or two without opening the main gates. And that's where the reference to the eye of the needle and the camel in the Bible. And I went, whoa. Now that really makes sense versus, okay, I can see eye of a needle, blah, blah, blah. What the hell's that camel got to do with it? It's because of this wall, a hole in the wall that was not really the secret entrance, but it was like a side door, or the servant's entrance, we'll say maybe. And it was only used for emergency or if you got locked out of the city after the main gates were closed. So that makes perfect sense. So the camel could only go through the wall as long as there was nothing on his back. He could fit. So a rich man, he can get to heaven, but none of his riches can go with him. At least none of the worldly possessions. His spiritual possessions that he acquires along the way, that's what increases everyone's vibrations into a harmony. Now this, I'd like the world in perfect harmony. Da, 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 da. Well, that was really good in a way, except we're singing about Coke. If we take just that, if I would like the world to sing in perfect harmony, the harmony of energies, the harmony of thought, the harmony of repairing and mending all the broken and frayed timelines. It seems to me that it's actually would be a whole lot easier to do than what people would want to give it credit. But you have to believe that you are who you are and a spiritual being, and that you must have faith in this simple information as being truthful. Allow this to go into your heart. Allow this, don't let it sink in your brain, because your brain will overthink it. This message has to go to your heart. Your heart does most of the thinking most of the time. Because if you get a bad feeling or something, where does it come from? It comes from down in here. It comes from your chest, your heart, palpitations, like, I don't know, that just don't feel right. Well, your head don't do that. Your head don't get a headache, but your stomach will get churned if you think something's a little off, or your heart will, your pulse will increase. That's not your brain doing that. It's your heart doing that. So your heart is in much more control of our system. And also because spirit is inside here, not up here, this is just a command center in a way. This is the working deal down here. It's the heart of the matter, if you will, pun intended. So, but I'm hoping these simple things will make some sense. And I got to make my videos shorter and stay on point. However, I think I stayed on point with this as far as energies and where this is coming from and personal beings and how we are all tied together and how we can't. It's going to be real simple to be a tribe of one once we start understanding what's going on. And as Brian of Milky Way Weekly, he goes, the people are coming together. This is happening, and it is. I had bad flops in faith I'm going to start this and talk to who? Whom? Who's going to listen to this crap? And I didn't have faith in myself, and I was scared of the message I was asked to deliver. Quite frankly, I was a chicken shit. Period. That's the truth. I mean, I'm going to come out of the woods, stick my head up on the internet, and oh my God, I'm a long-haired hippie and I'm preaching this crap. Well, I hope I'm not preaching, but I do hope I'm explaining on a very simple level what the simplicity of how this works. And if we will, as a collective, stop overthinking this, use our heart energies, our heart and the love and the honor. I'm going back into it again, but these are all the important things. Honor ourselves. When we honor ourselves, we honor the universe. Because when we bring honor upon ourselves by our good deeds and our thoughts, we are honoring Creator. And by honoring Creator, that energy flows outward. So, yeah, okay, pay it forward, however you want to look at it. But what you're doing by the more positive and whatever, you can have a crappy day and still think positive. Like, all right, another flat tire. Holy crap. Okie dokie. Going to deal with this and going to go home all right. Okay. I lost a $10 bill at the grocery store. All right. But if you go, oh crap, if you took the really negative, kick the dirt attitude, then it's wasted energy. It's going in the wrong direction. Your frequency is lowered. And by becoming aware of the fact that simply by refraining from overreacting or refraining from accepting emotional things when you don't have to, these are all just basic tools to help you get through this mess. However, these simple teachings, lessons, I'm imparting on to you about the simplicity of this without using a bunch of parables. A story here or there, yes, but that's only to try to explain how this works and spreads out across our planet and the universe. So with that, I've been on the computer and on the air combined today almost 7 hours. And I'm literally kind of between the full moon and all the energies and all the channeling I've been doing to try to make sure that this information is coming across loud and strong and cleared. When the storm comes, those will get ripped off and lose grip. They are the incognizant, just have different skills in education. Use them wisely, not like an amateur. It takes training. That's one of the misnomers. Because he who walks the path towards its end will find out that he's come back to the beginning. Meaning, when you travel all the way down the road and all the way around, you realize that you had, it's almost like the Wizard of Oz and No Place Like Home. Oh, I had you all here all along. All of this was here all along. I didn't see it. And so when you're standing on, so and it's so ironical. And you think, well, I'm going to keep going down my shaman trail. And it brings you back to where you started. You go, holy crap. It was here all along. And so my explanation about this is not training. It's untraining. We are untraining ourselves rather than learning how to. We have to unlearn what we already know. Unlearn the lies so that our true selves will be known. And so the amateur part of this is the fact that We are amateurs in the fact that we're just having this realization, and that it's my job as a communicator to try to explain that it's simple. Please don't overcomplicate this. Don't put words in there that aren't necessary. Oh, well, we're going to have to train for that. No, don't go there. You must unlearn those negatives that you've been taught. You're not in training, you're untrained. You're being unwound instead of rewound. You're being unwound. They have wrapped us so tight in the wrong coil of crap that we have to unwind in order to see all the dimensions of the spring. And rewinding us doesn't do any good, because we're just going to repeat in a rewind, redo. That's not what we want. We don't want to rewind. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense, Marie? Okay. I understand what you mean as far as we got to rewind, but by rewinding, though, that means we're going to do it over like watching a VHS tape. I'm not watching this shit over again. I'm not going, No. Sorry. Ain't rewinding. I will untrain, and I will, I'm going to allow these natural things to come through. Please, dear God. And I know there's the source up there. No rewinds. Some of the things that I've been through, I'm sorry, I don't want to redo those. Well, would you be better off if you had done? Yeah, some of this stuff I really wish I could just skip right over. So, but to the rewind point, I do understand where you're coming with that, and amateurs and training and so forth. But see, that's the Great Awakening. We really aren't amateurs. We're really smart, and we're finding each other in the mist, like you coming here and other folks and Wayne Steiger and all the other folks we've named and so forth. We're finding each other despite the fog, despite all the other crap. We are still finding each other because we're beginning to understand. Our training to forget it has got to go. Well, I don't want my tape to be erased, because they've erased too much of my stuff already. I want the choice to not remember. However, I don't wish to have it erased, because some of the nasty things that's happened in my life, I've learned from. And if those are erased, I won't have the benefit of what I learned. So even the bad things, but I do want the choice to not have to remember them all the time and have it replay. That's what I don't want. I don't want to get stuck in a loop of which has happened to me. Something keeps replaying. It was negative, and PTSD, something got killed, blah, 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 whatever it might be. But I don't want the tape erased. I see you wrote true. And so I understand where you're coming from. I really do. But see, I was thinking the same way not too long ago. And there is another part of this. Oh, I just want to erase the damn thing. No, you don't. And this is what was brought to me. So, and I'm bringing this to you and others, is that, be careful how we, I don't want to remember them, but I want the choice to remember them if the need be. Because if memories weren't important, then why did they erase our previous memories and lifetime as an ISB before we got down here? Because there was too much information. We understood who we were. And as we died, we saw angels, we saw the other side, and oh my God, you can't remember that the next time you come back here, because that's the part we're trying to erase permanently from our memories. So I feel abused, and we all should feel abused as far as having our past lives destroyed and our memories the fact that we've been hit with a gazillion volts of energy to turn us into people, to come back down here to be slaves to them. I've been used and abused, and I've had enough. Now, am I going to put up my dukes and fight? I already have. I'm putting out knowledge. I'm putting out truth. I'm putting out information. That's my fight. I have my aura as much as I possibly can, instead of like being, well, I'm just sitting here. And I know this is true because of tests they've done with scientific equipment, that you can push your aura out, your shell. Now, I understand this. I can't see it with my eyes, but I can perceive it. So if we all push our auras out a little bit, instead of having it so close to us like we're clinging in a hammock, if we allow ourselves a little breathing room, and it's unwinding the spring. By unwinding the spring, all the tension is being taken out. And actually, if you overwind a clock, it'll stop. So in so many ways, we on this timeline, and those who would mess with us, and beyond our control, but now that we're awake to it, now that we see what's happened, they've kind of, in so many ways, have wound the clock too tight to the point where things won't run. They're not running correctly, and so their idea to fix it is to pretty much just let Kit blow up and be gone. They don't really care because they want our negative energy to begin with. Well, now that the spider is off of the planet, now that the ley lines are being reinforced and the true earth energy is coming. In fact, from what I understand, there are new ley lines being laid down because the old ones were so contaminated. And the position of the earth and things and etc., that new ley lines are actually being rewritten onto the code of Mother Earth, which makes perfect sense, actually. The old nodal points were misabused so badly that it's like a bad battery that simply won't charge any longer. So you get another battery, you put a new, anyway. But so how much of this do I believe? I can feel things have changed. And I feel like we have taken the turn for the better. This solstice, things were supposed to come out. They did. The things in the... Whoa. That was weird. Did you just see a bright flash? Tell me you just saw a bright flash. What the heck was that? What's been used up and depleted in mining? Oh, I'm sorry. Wow, man. I'll have to look at this part. It's almost 3 hours in. Man, there was like a bright flash like the light. I thought the light, there's been a thunderstorm around, but there hasn't been any lightning. But the lightning was like right here between these two lights. And that's only a 25 watt incandescent bulb there. There's no way it's supposed to flicker like that. That was really bright. Oh, well. Anyway, energies around us. So I think that if we extend our energies and extend our auras, that in itself will allow more earth energies to come up. Yes, like the minerals. Yes, I got you. Yes. Well, also, too, there's been information. Now, I know there are crystals in the caves that are around where I live. Now, they're not like the crystals that I've seen in Arkansas and some other places in mines. And those huge 20, 30, 40 feet tall crystals down in Mexico. Oh, my gosh. That there are more of those dug up like uranium. Yep. And all the other things. Near me, there's a huge mines for Fuller's Earth. What's the other name for it? Oh, people are eating this stuff to get rid of heavy metals. Diatomaceous earth. Okay. I'm sitting on diatomaceous earth. I mean, I got to go through the red clay, but then that's what's underneath the red clay here in South Georgia. And 12 miles that way is Ochlockonee, Georgia. And that is the home of one of the places that dig up this stuff. And there are huge open pit mines over there. And what they make out of it is kitty litter. And oil dry. The mineral, yeah, all the minerals are natural conductors. John Hutchinson years ago, and you know, I haven't seen him post any videos recently, by the way. But anyway, they were doing stuff with earth batteries. And they were literally taking, now you have to have dissimilar metals, like a zinc and a copper, for example. They were taking literally piles of pieces of rock from the yard, which are just, you know, different kinds. But, you know, there'd be silicas and different, you know, types of things, a little bit of iron, some copper possibly. And, but anyway, and they were just putting them together, not crushing them, but just packing them in these bowls. And they'd add a little bit of water and maybe a little bit of salt and put a one wire on one side and a conductor down the middle, like a positive negative, and they would have to take a 9-volt battery to like set the polarity. But they were finding out that without a charge, but simply by getting a polarity, that they were getting almost 1 full volt of electricity, DC electricity, coming out of a bowl of rocks. Period. Nothing special. A bowl of rocks with a little salt but 2 dissimilar metals. And okay, what are you going to do with 1 volt? Well, if it's consistent and it lasts forever and you get a couple of these, well, you can step the voltage up to 12 volts. And there's a bunch of stuff you can run on 12 volts. I mean, this computer runs on like 13.5 or some weird number, but you know, I could almost run the computer off of 12 volts. With a little step-up buck converter, I can. So, you know, I could have 2 5-gallon buckets full of rocks and the right minerals and a copper tube down the middle and a steel something on. I could have electricity. And it will recharge. They found out that these earth batteries, if you disconnect them to where they're not being drained, they will recharge by themselves. They don't need solar. They don't need enough. They will simply reabsorb energy from around itself and put itself back. Now, it takes a little while, maybe a day, but you don't have to put anything in it. All you have to do is quit using it, and it will automatically recharge itself. Rocks. Period. And so I've been doing some experiments on this low level. We mine it out, sort of explains why the mantle's heating up. Voltage, same as volcano. Actually, let me modify that for you. What's happening right now is that the energy coming at us, going through the earth, through us, and all the way to well, there's nothing in the middle. It's hollow. But to that point, though, there are movies that show this ball of plasma, this blue plasma ball thing. That's what's going on right now. And what might have been a plasma, just as an example, what might have been a plasma ball this big is now the size of a big blow up beach ball. Okay. So But now that's just plasma. It's not a physical thing per se. But as that plasma expands, thus the electrical potential, and not necessarily heat as we think heat kind of thing. It's a different kind of heat. It's an energetic microwave kind of heat. So we are being microwaved like a baked potato. And if I use this analogy in another video, but it fits, the magma, as it's heated up more now, and the magnetic polarity has changed, the Earth is expanding because of all this. Put a baked potato in the microwave and don't put a hole in it. And watch what happens to the skin. And at some point, it's going to go, and steam's going to come out. That's what's happening to the Earth, period. Now, the magma underneath us is rolling around the Earth, and the Earth itself is said to be slowing. But this liquid magma that's already heated up more and is more viscous and runny instead of being sluggish and too gooey, if you will. Now it's turning more viscous and fluid and running like hydraulic fluid in a crane or something like that, And so versus tar, to go on your house. That's the difference, really. Magma's been like tar, and now that it's been heated up, it's turned into a really thin oil that's running all over the place. Now, this has metals in it and crystals and so forth, so it carries a voltage. It carries a charge. Now, with that said, so we've got this spinning magma because of the Earth going round. And with my little ball earthy thing here, because we're wobbling, this being the moon, the Earth is wobbling up and down like this, so that the moon is changing places from where it sits when I look at it. And so, but as it's wobbling, the Earth is down here, but there's all this liquid magma that's still up here. And so as it wobbles, the liquid has to catch up with the mantle. But in the meantime, the mantle then is still in its wobble, and so it's on its way back up while the magma is just catching up where it was. Dynamo. Very good. So it's going down while this is coming back up, and so we're in this constant flux of solid matter versus the viscousness of the magma under us, and the fact that it's thinner now and starting to go into all different cracks and crannies, and the fact that the Earth is expanding. This is what's going on, so all this other stuff is like, well, you could figure out, well, what frequency is it doing for this? It doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. I mean, it's interesting information, but do we have to know how fast the magma is traveling? No. We just need to understand that it is, and it does. And we have to understand that as these things expand, cosmic energies, we're a baked potato in the microwave, that these things are affecting us. So rather than get all of our panties in a wad and all this other good stuff, we need to state the simple facts. Be aware of our situation, and like some folks I keep telling, move away from the beach, be at least 20 miles inland if you can. Go visit it, but don't live there. Okay. And for folks who just have to do that, I beg your pardon, but then if a big wave comes, I told you, I'm sorry. I'm not going to go, and I'm going to feel sad for you, and I will pray for you either way, but I'm not going to just go, oh my God, I can't believe. No, we've all been warned, and we're being warned again. Move away from the oceans because of these changes and the flip-flops. It's just sloshing. It's sloshing under us, and the oceans are sloshing. There was another one in Thailand or something where the entire bay emptied again. Oh my goodness. Why? I've been told that living on a mountain ain't going to be any better than living in the valley of the mountain, except that the valley could flood and hillsides. But to the point of being on a mountain, the mountains are going to shake and slide and tumble. And so people who are thinking, oh, I'm up here out of the way, you might not be out of the way, because if there's enough rumbling and wiggling and shaking going on, if that mountain decides to come apart, which is being seen all over the earth, I mean, huge sections of the mountain just coming down and ripping out roads and heading down and taking out a village, you know. Oh my God, I never would have seen these things before. And they're all over all the time right now. Too much flooding, the hillsides are moving. And besides that, having been inside of mountains and in caves and so forth, and seeing how things are kind of just stacked on top of each other and not really connected, if a good enough shaking's going to come apart, what folks see on the outside as a solid mountain is actually a collection of rocks piled on top of one another with dirt in between. You do enough shaking, the sand turns liquefaction, turns almost like a fluid, and then what happens? Then the rocks just wiggle, and down they go. So people who think they're living on a solid mountain, unless it's a one big giant piece of granite going into the ground, you're not on a solid anything. It's that solid mountain is made up of parts of pieces of rocks and things that make up that mountain. So it would be like oozing gravity. In a way, yeah. I wholeheartedly agree with you on that one. So there are so many paradigms. And if you look, like me being a naturalist and just watching nature, that's my science, you know, as a hobby and whatever. What good is this going to do me in the end? Well, it's doing me a lot of good now, because I understand in like really simple earth term thingies what's going on. And all this calculation and all these folks scratching their head going, well, I just don't get why this is happening. Well, then you're just an idiot. I'm sorry. And your PhD means you're plumb hideous and dumb. PhD, plumb hideous and dumb. And then, right, piled higher and deeper. But it seems like the more letters are behind a person's name, the more idiot they become, because they have convinced themselves of their own paradigm. They've convinced themselves of their own box. And in my process of my PhDing, piling higher and deeper, of chicken manure and the recycled, anyway. Unlearning things and allowing things to come. The allowing it has been tough. And like down here in the South, the clay that I live on versus a mountain, it's solid. I mean, it's solid. It's compact. And and learning how to dig through it and digging my well and all this, it's solid. And after 30 years of just a hole in the clay, a tree root grew into the side of the well, and a piece of clay fell down into the bottom of my well. After 30 years, no concrete, no lining in the well, just clay. That's how stable it is. Now, I've seen wells up in North Georgia and the Carolinas and stuff like that, and simply because rocks have fallen in and stuff, wells that were hand dug up there, because it's not clay and they go through rocks and this and that, they're not near as stable as my well down here in the South. And it's interesting because I was going to dig the well anyway, but now after being other places and 35 years of living here and seeing other things and blah, 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 and the grand total, some of this stuff is like, wow, maybe that's why creators sent me back down here to South Georgia when I tried to go to the mountains, when I tried to move to Arkansas, because this clay is so stable. I mean, to have an earthquake here would be really tough versus down the New Madrid fault line where it's a lot of sand and silt and stuff like that. A little bit of shaking turns that ground into quicksand. Around here, it's so dense, the ground would shake like granite or hard rock would. So that might be the reason why I'm still here in South Georgia. That's interesting. I hadn't really thought of the composition of the earth until now. I mean, I know what it's made of, but see, I've had all this information, but I didn't connect the dots even for my own life, why I'm still here and what does it mean to the grand scheme of things. So go pick a good clay hill, I guess, that's at least 50 to 75 feet tall and plant yourself, you know. But with the energies that are coming, there's some stuff coming here shortly. And the underground woo-woo side of things, it's really buzzing. And I mean, boy, I don't know if all the stuff they've been woo-wooing about over this last several years are going to be true or whatever, blah, blah, blah. But the simple fact that other things are coming out and other things are being seen and other things are being discussed, oh, man, we in for some interesting times coming up soon. So with that, I'm going to say I love you all. Thank you if you made it this far. Please slide so we as a massive continent don't feel any quakes, though we still do get tremors. Yeah. Good evening, Dave. Actually, it's good morning. It would be good evening to you in your end of the world. Blessings to you, Miss Marie. I always send prayers to all my folks that I know of that come out and chat with me and are willing to sit and listen to me. Thank you very much. And just keep a smile on your face and know that we will get through this and we do have the power. So blessings to all. And I'm going to say good morning to everybody. Let me watch the moon go down. New Zealand more so been on the ring of fire. Yeah. Are you in New Zealand or are you on the mainland of Australia? Okay, right. Okay, I was right. All right, my memory was right. Yeah, them folks over there in New Zealand and everything. But you know what? The mainland of Australia got hit recently too, just like the middle of the United States got hit. The middle of Georgia got hit, for goodness sake, which just so happens that it's on that clay transition line to the old Appalachian Mountains. Just as I just had that thought. But so, yeah, earthquakes in Georgia, earthquakes in middle Georgia and upper Georgia, and all the way up through the Appalachians. So America's getting warmed up and rumble. So, but Australia, you got a lot of clay there. So maybe you'd be pretty good with a good hard packed clay versus some of us here in the rest of the world. So Miss Marie, thank you. All the rest, I love you. And I'm going to say, where is my coffee? Where is I split and collapse. Let's hope not. Let's hope for it. It's going to float for a while longer. So blessing, Marie, and all you all. I'll talk to you soon. Yeah, make pottery. Clay's good for pottery. I'm actually working on a wood-fired kiln, by the way, but I digress. So love you all. Till next time. Good night, good morning, wherever you are.